Hello again everyone, Steve Angel with Traditional Outdoors. Welcome back to our Traditional Archery and Bow Hunting 101 series of videos. And today we're going to start talking a little bit about arrows. And the focus of this is right wing versus left wing. It's one of those topics that, just like in politics, there's a lot of different opinions, a lot of myths, and a lot of misconceptions out there. And just like with politics, here's what it really comes down to. It just doesn't matter. The right wing and the left wing both come from the same bird, and for all intents and purposes, either one of them will work just fine. So don't get too caught up and wrapped up in right wing versus left wing feathers when you're shooting traditional archery gear. Again, it just doesn't matter. Now, when you hear the term right wing and left wing, what are we talking about? We're talking about which side of the bird the wing comes from that the feathers are attached to. So if you look at the two feathers, you can see the difference here. One's from a right wing and one is from the left wing of the bird. That's it. It doesn't really make any difference. One side of the feather is going to have longer fibers, so that's the side you would cut the feather from, and you can use them to fletch an arrow. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't be concerned with the feather that you're using, but if you took both of these feathers and fletched an arrow with a straight fletch, perfectly straight, the arrow is going to fly exactly the same. The rotation will be pretty much non-existent, but would be the same. And this is where people are going to say, I'm wrong, but go and check it out for yourself and try it. It doesn't matter. Where it does matter is if you take a left wing feather, most people are going to fletch that with a left helical. At that point, now it starts to matter. You want to fletch a left wing feather with a left helical, a right wing feather with a right helical. That's the only way it's going to align on the shaft properly, and you have to do so with the right arrow jig to build that arrow. So this is a Bitzenberger jig, and it's a left wing clamp, which means if I'm using that left wing clamp with a left helical, I'm going to have to use a left wing feather. If I wanted to use right, I would just get a right wing jig. That's all there is to it. It's not a big deal. Now, with a left wing feather and left wing helical, which I'll show here, and I'm hoping one of these, maybe this one's a better example, you can see that there is definitely a twist to that feather. A left helical fletch with a left wing is going to spin counterclockwise. A right wing with a right helical will spin clockwise in flight. Doesn't make any difference other than that. You will hear things about it's supposed to clear the riser better and all this stuff, but the arrow doesn't start to spin until it's past the bow anyway, so it's a moot point. You'll hear people talk about, well, if one will loosen the point and one will tighten the point. Complete BS. The points are going to rattle loose. They're going to rattle loose. Put a little bowstring wax on the threads, and that solves that problem, and don't worry about it. But as far as the way the arrow is spinning, again, it just doesn't matter. So it can even come down to what you can find. A lot of times the arrows, if you buy them pre-fletched from the factory, may have a right wing with a right helical. They'll shoot fine. If they're shooting left wing with left helicals, they'll shoot fine. You won't be able to tell the difference. When it comes to bow hunting, the one example I can tell you where it absolutely makes a difference which wing and helical you use is if you're shooting single bevel broadheads. And we'll cover this a little bit in its own video, but just think of it this way. If an edge, whether it's on a broadhead or knife, doesn't matter. If it's a double bevel, then it means the edge is equally beveled on each side, coming to the fine edge that is the cutting surface. On a single bevel, one side is flat and one side has the angle, and they still can get just as sharp either way. But the advantage of a single bevel, especially if you encounter bone when you're hunting, is that it has a twisting effect which can split bone as opposed to getting lodged in between the bone. That's a whole nother topic, a whole nother discussion. But if you want to shoot a single bevel head, then you must match the bevel to your fletching. So if you're shooting a left wing, left helical arrow, then you want a left bevel broadhead. Likewise, if you're shooting right wing, right helical, and you want to shoot a single bevel broadhead, you need to shoot a right bevel. Aside from that, none of this matters. So again, just like I said with politics, they both come from the same bird. They both function the same. It doesn't matter which one you choose. It really doesn't. So just pick whatever's most convenient for you, what you already have, and ignore all the hype. Again, it really doesn't matter. Until next time, get out there and get shooting, everyone. Take care.